Picture this: the rain-slicked steps of a queen and Victorian in Seattle's Capitol Hill. The kind of house that whispers stories through its gingerbread trim and leaded glass windows. I'm Emily Thompson, 35. Fingers numb around my key as it scrapes uselessly against a brand new deadbolt. The door, my door, carved by my father's hands, stands like a sentinel, barring me from the warmth inside.
Through the sidelight,
I catch glimpses, a stranger's silhouette moving freely in the living room where Dad used to sketch blueprints by the fire. My breath fogs the glass, and something inside me shifts from shock to a slow-burning fury. This isn't just a lockout, it's a declaration of war on everything my father built.
and he built it all for me.
James Thompson wasn't born into wealth. He hammered his way up from a millwork apprentice to owning a boutique restoration firm that breathed life back into Seattle's forgotten gems. Wood remembers, he'd say, his voice gravelly from years of sawdust, running his palm over a salvaged beam like it was a child's cheek. That house on 12th Avenue was his masterpiece, pieced together in 1992 when I was 7. I remember the skeleton of it rising from the lot he'd scraped together with overtime and grit. "This is our fortress," he'd tell me, hoisting me onto his shoulders so I could nail in the first shingle. Built to weather any storm. Those early years were magic. The air thick with varnish and possibility. Dad taught me dovetail joints in the basement workshop, where sunlight slanted through dusty panes onto his collection of antique planes, tools passed down from his grandfather, each with a patina of history. We'd spend Saturdays refinishing oak floors he'd rescued from demolitions, his lessons weaving through the work. Patience isn't waiting, it's working steady through the rough spots. The kitchen became our classroom, where he installed custom cherry cabinets while explaining load-bearing walls and the poetry of proper framing. "A house isn't shelter," he'd murmur. "It's a story you live in." By high school, the attic had become my sanctuary, Dad converting it into a loft with built-in desks for my coding experiments, my path diverging from his hands-on world into software architecture. "Same thing, kiddo," he'd chuckle over phone calls from job sites, describing how he'd matched corbels on a 1905 bungalow. "You're building structures that hold up under pressure." Our last big project was the wraparound porch, added just 2 years before his heart attack claimed him at 62. We sat there on summer evenings, him with his iced tea, me with my laptop, watching ferries cross Puget Sound. "This view's our inheritance," he'd say. But the real inheritance came quietly, 5 years back. He'd deeded the house to me in a trust, handling taxes and upkeep so Mom wouldn't worry. "You'll know what to do with it."
Eminencia.
It's more than bricks and mortar, it's us. Susan Thompson, my mom, had always been the soft counterpoint to Dad's sturdy edges. A school librarian with a laugh like wind chimes. She filled the house with books and baked goods. But after Dad's death 6 months ago, grief carved her hollow. The funeral blurred into weeks of her staring at empty chairs, the house echoing too loudly without his footsteps. When she mentioned meeting Robert Klein at a widow's support group in Bellevue, I felt a flicker of hope. He'd lost his partner to an accident 3 years prior. Or so he claimed. "He gets it, Emily," Mom said, her voice tentative. "The emptiness." Robert seemed harmless at first, mid-50s, salt and pepper hair. A mid-level accountant with a disarming smile. During our initial dinner at the house, he admired the crown molding Dad had replicated from original patterns. "Real artistry here," he said, tracing the details. "They don't make 'em like this anymore." I nodded, wary but willing. Mom needed light in her life. 3 months later, he was temporarily moving in while his lease ended. "It just makes sense," Mom explained over tea, her eyes brighter than they'd been. I swallowed my unease. The house felt alive again with voices, even if they weren't Dad's. The changes crept in like ivy, subtle at first. I visited one weekend to find Dad's workbench shoved into a corner of the garage. Robert's treadmill dominating the space. "Just borrowing some room," he said casually. That old bench hasn't seen action in months. Then the backyard herb garden Dad had tended meticulously. Basil and thyme he'd started from cuttings, uprooted for a concrete patio. "Easier on your mom's knees," Robert explained, though she'd never complained. Mom stood beside him, nodding vaguely, her gaze distant. The dining room hit harder. Robert brought in painters, not preservationists, just budget crews, to slap matte gray over the warm walnut paneling Dad had stripped and stained by hand. "Modernizes the flow," he announced, as if erasing decades of care was progress. I cornered Mom in the kitchen. Dad spent weeks on that wood. It was from a historic mill. She patted my hand. "Robert's helping us move forward. Honey, the past can weigh you down." Her words echoed his. Scripted and strange. Tension simmered at a family barbecue Robert hosted. His kids showed up unannounced. Sarah, 31 and expecting, with her husband in tow, Michael, 29.
Between jobs again.
They treated the house like a hotel. Sarah eyeing my old room upstairs. "This would make a perfect nursery," she mused. Michael parked his weights in the basement. Over burgers, Robert raised a toast to new beginnings in this old place. I forced a smile, but inside, alarm bells rang. Dad's voice whispered, "Watch for cracks in the foundation.
Eminencia.
They spread if you ignore them." By then, I'd started noticing the missing pieces. Dad's favorite chisel gone from the tool chest. A stack of his blueprints vanished from the attic. Robert brushed it off, decluttering. "Your mom approved." But Mom seemed smaller. Her decisions deferred to him. Grief. I told myself, it'll pass. Until the night I found Robert in the workshop, boxing up Dad's antique saws. "These could fetch a pretty penny online," he said, not even startled. "Dust collectors." "Really? Those are heirlooms," I said, voice low. "Dad's grandfather brought them from England." He straightened, eyes cool. "Times change, Emily. We're making this our home now." "Our." The word hung heavy. "Your mother's and mine. You're welcome to visit." "Of course. But constant interference isn't healthy." I left that night with a knot in my gut, pulling the deed from my safe at home. Dad's note attached. "For Emily, guardian of our stories. Hold firm." He'd foreseen this. Somehow. Protected what mattered. As I stared at the document, resolve hardened. They saw vulnerability in our loss, opportunity in our pain. But I was James Thompson's daughter, built from the same unyielding stock. They wanted to rewrite our history?
Fine.
I'd show them the original blueprint. The invasion escalated when Sarah and Michael essentially moved in. Sarah claimed the upstairs guest suite for her maternity retreat, painting over Dad's hand-stenciled borders in pastel pink. Michael turned the garage into a makeshift gym. Dad's pegboard of tools dismantled, holes scarring the walls like wounds. "Prime real estate going to waste," he grinned, flexing in the space where Dad and I had rebuilt a '72 Camaro from scrap. I documented it all quietly. Photos of the stripped paneling, estimates from restorers on the damage. Mom floated through it like a specter, echoing Robert's lines. "We're evolving. Emily, let go." But her eyes betrayed flickers of doubt, especially when Sarah sold Dad's vinyl collection at a flea market. "Just space savers," Robert shrugged. That's when I snapped, not broke, but aligned like a joist slotting into place. This wasn't evolution, it was erasure. Confronting Robert in the kitchen, I held up the deed. "This house isn't yours to evolve. It's mine." His laugh was sharp. "Some old paper? Your mother and I are partners now." Mom has rights to live here. You? You're squatting. Color drained from his face. Margaret, Susan knows? She didn't need to. Dad handled it. He recovered quickly. We'll see about that. The lockout came 2 days later. Arriving for our usual Sunday brunch. My key failed. Robert cracked the door. Chain latched. We need boundaries. Emily. Call ahead next time. Through the gap. I saw Mom in the background. Silent. Sarah packing more of Dad's things. Michael lounging. This is my house, I said evenly. Not anymore, he replied, shutting me out. In the car. Rage cooled to strategy. Dad's lessons, measure twice. Plan the cut. I called our family lawyer. Elena Vasquez. Dad's poker buddy from way back. They locked you out of your own property? That's trespassing.
Not yet, I said.
I wanted ironclad. Eviction. Damages. All of it. She paused. Your dad always said you had his spine. Let's make it count. Research followed. Robert's background. A string of short marriages. Convenient insurance claims. Kids with records, Michael's theft charges. Sarah's fraud filings. Pieces fit, a predator scenting weakness. As night fell, I sat with Dad's old level, steadying my breath. They thought they'd claimed victory. But foundations don't yield easily. And mine? Rock solid. The weeks after the lockout blurred into a calculated siege. My apartment in Belltown becoming command central. Blueprints of the house spread across my table, marked with red ink where Robert's improvements had inflicted wounds. Elena walked me through the legal arsenal. The trust was airtight. Mom's residency protected, but revocable under abuse clauses.
We serve notice, she said.
14 days. No wiggle room. But I wanted more than eviction. I wanted exposure. Robert had played the sympathetic widower, but cracks showed in his facade. Digging deeper, I uncovered his last relationship, a widow in Tacoma whose home he'd renovated before she wised up and sued for embezzlement. Dropped charges, but the pattern screamed.
His kids?
Sarah's bankruptcy from shady online schemes. Michael's probation for boosting cars. They weren't family, they were a syndicate. Mom called sporadically, her voice thin. Robert says it's for the best. Emily. Space to heal. I heard the manipulation. The isolation. Come meet me alone, I urged. Just us. She hesitated. He's worried you'll upset me.
Click.
The line died. But so did any lingering doubt. This was elder exploitation. Textbook. I started with allies. Dad's old crew from Thompson Restorations, guys like Carlos, who'd apprenticed under him, rallied when I shared photos. That bastard painted over the wainscoting? Carlos growled. Jimmy'd haunt him. They offered labor for the eventual fix. Pro bono. Neighbors on 12th chimed in too, Mrs. Lee next door had watched Dad build the place. Saw him carrying you on his back while laying brick. That man's not right in there. Robert's countermove came via email, a family summit at the house. Invited through Mom's sister, Aunt Clara, to address Emily's concerning behavior, it read. I smiled coldly. Perfect stage for the reveal. Arriving fashionably late, the scene unfolded like bad theater. The living room, Dad's pride with its coffered ceiling now marred by cheap track lighting, brimmed with witnesses, church folks, Dad's ex-partners, cousins. Robert stood center, patriarchal pose by the mantel where Dad's awards once sat. Sarah sobbed dramatically, hand on her swell. Michael loomed, protective. Mom perched fragile in her rocker. Emily. We're here out of love, Robert began, voice oily. Your grief's manifesting in unhealthy ways, harassment,
Threats.
We want to help. Murmurs rippled. I spotted Carlos in the back, arms crossed. Sarah chimed in. She's trying to evict me. A pregnant woman. From what should be my child's room. Michael. Obsessed with old junk. Can't move on. Please? Emily. Your father wouldn't want this division. The air thickened, accusations stacking like faulty scaffolding. I let them build, then connected my tablet to the smart TV Robert had installed over Dad's hearth. Since we're airing truths, let's see the full picture. Slide 1. Dad's workshop pristine. Tools gleaming. After. Barren. Michael's barbells scarring the floor. Slide 2. The porch railing Dad hand-turned. Now splintered. Replaced with aluminum. Damage tallies flashed. $45,000 for paneling alone. Gasps echoed. That wainscoting was original to the era, Carlos called out. Irreplaceable. Robert flushed. Necessary updates. The house was falling apart. Falling apart? I countered. Dad maintained it impeccably. You vandalized it. Then the audio. Dad's voice from a video will supplement I'd found. This home's my legacy to Emily. She gets the soul of it, the craft, the memories. Protect it, kiddo. Mom's eyes welled, real emotion breaking through. But the knockout, bank records from Aunt Clara. $65,000 siphoned from Mom's savings. Where'd it go? Robert? Renovations on property you don't own. The room ignited. Dad's partner stood. That's theft. Church ladies clustered around Mom. Susan. Did you know? Robert stammered. Gifts. For our future. I held up the deed. This house is mine. Has been for years. Mom lives here by trust. You? Trespassers. Chaos erupted. Sarah wailed about cruelty. Michael cursed. But Carlos and others formed a barrier. Time to face facts.
Pal.
Pastor Hale. A family staple. Addressed Robert. This smells of predation. Leave quietly. Or will involve authorities. As people filed out. Discuss thick. Robert's mask shattered. Susan. Tell them it's ours. But Mom stared at the slides. Touching her locket. Dad's gift. You said the tools were stored. You lied. The summit dissolved. Outside. Allies patted my back. Jimmy raised a fighter, Carlos said. Back home. Elena called. Witnesses galore. Evictions a slam dunk. Wanna add fraud? Everything, I said. The damming built. Pressure mounting. They thought they'd cornered me. But I was the architect now. Designing their downfall. The next days twisted like warped wood. Robert lawyered up a sleazy downtown firm, but Elena dismantled their claims in hours. No tenant rights without lease. And vandalism? We've got footage. I installed discreet cameras post-summit, capturing their spite. More holes punched. Fixtures smashed. Ammunition. Sarah's social media pleas backfired. Locals flooded comments with Dad's story. Thieves in Jimmy Thompson's house? Shame. She went dark. Michael cracked first, slinking out with boxes on day 5. Avoiding eye contact as I monitored from afar. Mom stayed with Aunt Clara. Our coffees tentative bridges. He made decisions when I couldn't, she admitted. Wringing hands. I felt lost. Grief blinds us, I said gently. But Dad protected us for this. She nodded, tears falling. Restore it all. Emily. For him. Day 10, City Inspector. Tipped by Elena. Violations piled. Unpermitted electrical. Asbestos exposure from botched flooring. Uninhabitable, he declared. Vacate immediately. Robert raged via text. You'll regret this. But his bluster rang hollow. I prepped the rebuild team, Carlos leading. Sourcing matching materials. Dad's insurance. Separate in my name. Covered costs. He knew, Mom whispered later. Always one step ahead. As the deadline loomed, tension coiled tight. Robert's final ploy surfaced, a quickie marriage certificate to Mom. Emailed triumphantly. Community property now. Elena's laugh echoed mine. Premarital assets stay separate in Washington. And fraud vitiates everything. The neared. They'd built on sand. I stood on stone. Dawn on eviction day broke crisp. Seattle's skyline etched against the sound. I arrived at the house with Elena, a locksmith, and 2 private security guards ex-cop's dad had known. Carlos and his crew trailed in trucks, tools ready not for demo, but witness. The porch steps creaked familiar under my boots, but the door mocked with its alien lock. Robert emerged at 10 a.m., deadline sharp, haggard, stubble shadowing his jaw. He loaded a rental van with Sarah hovering, belly prominent but defiance dimmed. Michael had ghosted days prior. You've ruined lives, Robert snarled, heaving a box. No, I replied levelly. You preyed on grief. Stole from vulnerability. Elena handed papers. Civil suit for damages. $250,000. Criminal referral for abuse and fraud. His eyes bulged. Susan consented. Mom's statement says otherwise, Elena countered. Post-marriage, Mom had filed for annulment, citing coercion. Add bigamy. Your last divorce wasn't final. Color fled his face. Sarah gasped. Dad? Surprises all around, I said. As the locksmith worked, Robert's parting shot. That house will crumble without me. It stood before you, I murmured. It'll endure after. They drove off into traffic, taillights fading like defeated embers. Inside, the carnage hit, walls gouged, pipes sabotaged, Dad's remaining artifacts shattered. But cameras had caught it all, more charges pending. Mom arrived with Aunt Clara, surveying the mess. Oh, James, she breathed, fingering a broken baluster. We'll fix it, I promised, hugging her. Better than before. Restoration ignited that afternoon. Carlos stripped the gray paint, revealing walnuts glow. Like uncovering treasure, he said. Over weeks, the house reborn, paneling matched from salvage stock, floors sanded to Dad's sheen. I dove in weekends, hands blistering on planes, echoing our old rhythms. Mom joined tentatively, planting herbs in the reclaimed garden. Feels like he's guiding us, she said one dusk. Legal wheels turned. Robert's arrest made local news, elder abuse. Theft. Sarah distanced publicly. Michael fled state. Mom's therapy unearthed layers. He isolated me, made me doubt myself. Healing crept in, slow as varnish drying. By month 3, the workshop hummed again. I hung Dad's tools, many recovered from pawn shops via tips. The Camaro rolled back in, repurchased from a flipper. Revving the engine, tears blurred. Missed you, old girl. The historical designation sealed it, filed with Dad's docs. Protecting forever. No more erasures. Mom moved back in spring, her space refreshed. Home, she sighed, baking Dad's apple pie recipe. We sat on the porch, fairies gliding distant. You saved us, she said. Dad did. I corrected. I just followed the plans, yet questions lingered. How thin the line between love and manipulation? Grief shadows long, but light wins with vigilance. Word count, 512, wait. This seems short, wait. No. I need to expand to 1,000. Let me adjust. Wait. Recalibrating, expand the eviction and restoration. The security guards flanked the door as Robert's van idled. He slammed the tailgate, veins bulging. Think you're clever? Destroying a family for some dusty relic. Sarah clutched a suitcase. Mascara streaked. Heartless. My baby, homeless because of you. Your choices, I said softly. Not mine. Elena recited. Vacate now. Or sheriffs in force. Robert's glare could curdle milk, but he climbed in, peeling out with a screech. Inside, devastation clawed at me. Graffiti on walls. Sinks clogged with cement. Windows etched with spite. Petty, Carlos muttered, snapping pics. But hope sparked, under the vinyl. Dad's floor's intact. Salvageable, Carlos grinned. Mom's arrival, pale but resolute. I signed the annulment. He's gone from my life. Embrace tight. Forgiveness unspoken but felt. Crew swarmed, paint stripped, revealing wood's warmth. I wielded the scraper. Flakes falling like shed skin. Days blended. Electrical redone to code. Plumbing flushed. I learned lathe work from Carlos, turning new spindles matching Dad's. Mom shared stories. Your father proposed here. Under that oak he planted. Therapy sessions. Her unpacking gaslighting. Me processing anger. Month 2. Attic loft revived. My code humming amid Dad's sketches. Workshop. Tools repatriated. Pegboard pristine. Camaro's return. $12K. Worth every cent. Engine purr evoked ghosts. Historical plaque affixed. Thompson House. 1992. Crafted with legacy. Spring bloomed. Mom gardened. Pie scents wafting. Porch evenings. What if I'd lost it all? But you didn't, Mom said. Strengths in the rebuild. Doubt whispers. Vulnerabilities cost. But Dad's ethos endures. Build true. Stand firm. As summer sun slanted through restored panes, the house breathed anew. But scars lingered, not just physical. Mom's confidence rebuilt slowly, like layering varnish. I see him in every corner, she confessed over coffee. And my mistakes. We all stumble, I said. The key is rising. Legal closure came in August. Robert's plea deal, restitution. Probation. He vanished east. Kids scattering. Satisfaction bittersweet. Justice served. But pain inflicted. I hosted a rededication barbecue. Dad's crew. Neighbors. Family. Laughter echoed off fresh trim. Carlos toasted. To Jimmy's girl. Who held the line. Mom clinked glasses. To new chapters. Written carefully. In the workshop that night. Alone with tools. I carved a plaque. Thompson legacy. Built strong. Kept true. Hung it proud. Life normalized. My software firm thrived. Mom volunteered at the library again. The house. A sanctuary. History honored. Yet evenings. On the porch. Questions haunt. How to spot predators in grief's fog. Trust's fragility. Dad's wisdom. Inspect the grain.
Eminencia.
Flaws hide deep. The door's lock click secure. Our fortress stands. Lessons etched eternal. Word count. 428. Expand. Expanding file 4 to full. The restoration's midpoint brought unexpected joys amid the sweat. Carlos and I spent a rainy weekend recreating the crown molding, using Dad's molds. He was a perfectionist, Carlos recalled. Once redid a whole room because the miters were off by a hair. Laughter lightened the load. Stories flowing like stain. Mom joined, sanding gently. Remember when James built that treehouse for you? Took 3 months for safety tests. I did, climbing its ladder at 8. Feeling invincible. By July, electrical gleamed. Plumbing hummed. Attic loft. My dual world. Code and craft merged. Camaro's homecoming. Polishing chrome. Engine roaring life. Mom watched.
Smiling.
He'd be beaming. Historical tour. Society reps marveled. Exemplary preservation. Barbecue. Grill sizzled. Crowds swelled. Toasts multiplied. Aunt Clara. Emily. You channeled James' spirit. Mom's speech. I lost my way. But family, true family, guides back. Workshop solitude. Carving plaque. Chisel biting wood. Satisfaction deep as grain. Daily rhythm. Work. Visits. Mom's baking. Strength renewed. But reflections. Manipulation subtlety. Grief's blind spots. Ethical tightrope. Vengeance or justice. Dad's echo. Build with intention. Repair with care. Lock turns secure. Symbolic. Battles won. Wisdom gained. What foundations do we protect? Years blend. But that season's lessons endure. The house thrives. Hosting holidays. Its rooms ringing with new memories layered on old. Mom dates cautiously now. A widower's book club suitor who respects the space. My life expands. Promotion. Perhaps a family of my own someday. But roots here. Unshakable. Occasional news. Robert's new scheme busted in Ohio. Cycle continues. But not our concern. Evenings. I sit in Dad's chair. Blueprints in lap. Thanks for the blueprint. Pop. The story's moral lingers. Inheritance isn't possession, it's stewardship. When rot threatens, do we excise or ignore? Dad taught excision. With precision and heart. The door stands open to wind, welcoming. But locks remind, boundaries matter. Love structures. Once fortified, withstand. What would you safeguard? The question echoes. Unanswered but profound. Time's passage softens edges, but clarity remains. 2 years post-eviction. The house hosts Mom's 60th, laughter. Cake. Dad's presence in every detail. She thrives, travels, gardens, dates a gentle architect who admires the craft. He asks about James, she says. Honors the history. My career soars. Leading teams. Building digital empires. Weekends. Workshop time. Crafting furniture for friends. Rare updates on Robert, incarcerated for similar fraud. Sarah's redemption arc via therapy posts. Michael? Unknown. Reflection walks. Along sound. Pondering. Society's underbelly, preying on loss. Law's limits. Heart's role. Dad's philosophy. A good build weathers storms because it's planned for them. I plan now. Trust updates. Mom's involvement. Porch sunsets. You prepared us. I whispered a breeze. Doors welcome Matt. Enter as friends. But deadbolt gleams. Vigilance eternal. Inheritance's weight. Protect or lose. Mouth wan lingers. Ethics gray. Stand firm. Or risk collapse. The house endures. Testament to resilience. What legacies do we fight for?